Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into Dr. Sarah Paine's really powerful analysis of Russian history and, more importantly, what it tells us about the West's strategy in this new, tense global era.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll explore why Russia's historical path is so different. Then, we'll look at the playbook from the First Cold War, a strategy that actually worked. And finally, we'll connect those lessons to the challenges we're all facing right now. All right, let's get into our first section. To really get a grip on the present, we have to start by looking at a major puzzle from the past. The whole analysis really hinges on this one massive question. Think about it. After World War II, countries like Germany and Japan rebuilt and became part of a new global system. But Russia's path was just fundamentally different. And the reasons for that go way back in its history.
Dr. Paine's argument is that it all starts with geography. For centuries, Russia grew up in what she calls a rough neighborhood. And in an environment like that, being ruthless isn't just a strategy, it's the only way you survive. It completely shapes your political DNA.
And this comparison just lays it all out so clearly. On one hand, you have Russia's legacy, the traditional path to power. It's all about pure force, conquering territory, and literally wiping out your rivals. But then you have the modern path, which is built on economic growth, trade, and stable laws. It's a completely different mindset, and Paine argues that Russia has always had a really hard time getting with the program.
Now, this is where it gets really interesting. Dr. Paine's analysis isn't just about what happened in Russian history. It's about what didn't happen. She calls this the negative space, and honestly, it's a huge piece of the puzzle.
So what does she mean by that? Well, while Western Europe was going through game-changing movements like the Renaissance and the Reformation, events that totally reshaped ideas about culture, government, and individual rights, Russia was just on another track entirely. It missed out on those key building blocks, leaving this giant void, this negative space right in the core of its culture.
And that's the real kicker. This unique history, this missing piece, makes the entire system incredibly vulnerable. It means a leader can just step in and hit the reset button, wiping out an entire generation of progress. The consequences are absolutely devastating and can take decades to fix.
Okay, so that's the problem. It sounds pretty grim, right? But history doesn't just give us problems, it also gives us answers. And according to Dr. Paine, the West has already written a winning playbook for this exact situation.
Paine says we need to look at the First Cold War not as some disaster we barely survived, but as a masterclass in patient, long-term strategy. You had this really thoughtful group of leaders who figured out a way to win without triggering a nuclear war. And the playbook itself was surprisingly simple and constructive. It wasn't about constantly fighting the enemy head-on. No, it was about building a better system at home. Cooperate with your allies, build up your institutions, and make sure your people have a high quality of life. The core idea? Just be patient and wait for the other guy's broken system to collapse on its own.
I mean, this quote just says it all. This strategy wasn't about constant, grim sacrifice. People in the West were living good lives. They were going to Disneyland, buying homes, raising families. That prosperity, that freedom, that was the strategy. It was the best advertisement for their system, and it worked without firing a single shot.
Okay, so let's fast forward to right now. Paine makes the case that we are in a second Cold War, and those lessons from the first one, they're more important and honestly more urgent than ever.
And this is where things get a little bit scary. The parallels, as she puts it, are just awful. The old Soviet Union fell apart because its ancient leadership was totally out of ideas and was just living on borrowed time and money. The terrible risk is that the West could be making the exact same mistakes today.
So, if we know what works, if the playbook is sitting right there, what's stopping us from using it? Well, this leads us to Dr. Paine's most powerful and, frankly, most chilling warning. She forces us to ask a really tough question. Is the biggest threat we face today actually an external enemy? Or is the call coming from inside the house?
And her answer is a total gut punch. The single biggest danger isn't Russia or any other adversary. It's us. It's the risk that we become what she calls a cooperative adversary, that through our own actions, we do our opponent's job for them. We put the bag over our own head.
And this isn't just some abstract theory. She lays out exactly how it happens. Look at this list. Dumping your allies, alienating your partners, defunding the very universities that give you an intellectual edge, carelessly throwing away the institutions that provide stability. Each one of these actions is like taking a sledgehammer to the very foundations that made us strong in the first place.
But here's the thing.
This is not a message of despair. Not at all. It's actually a message about power and choice. The future isn't written yet.
Paine really emphasizes this point. The West is still holding a very good hand of cards. We have strong alliances, incredible innovation, and solid institutions. Unlike the old Soviet Union, we aren't being forced into decline. If we go down that road, it will be because we chose to.
And that's really the whole point of looking at history this way. It's not about finding a magic answer. Strategy is just a set of tools. It's a map that uses the lessons of the past to help us think more clearly about the huge choices we have to make today.
So, when you boil it all down, what's the big takeaway? It's this. Success in this new era depends way less on what our adversaries do and almost entirely on whether we can keep our own house in order. The focus has to be on us.
And that leaves us with one final very powerful question. The playbook for success is there. It's been written, it's been tested, and we know it works. The only variable now is whether we'll have the wisdom and the will to actually use it. Thanks for joining this explainer.